I think there is in Buddhism, they say after all these shifts and insights, the mountains and will be mountains, rivers will be again rivers. So you start awakening. With awakening, you're going through certain processes. You're going away from life, but at some point you're coming back to life. I would say like that, but from a different perspective, from a different path, and it's different life, definitely.
Hello, Branimir. Welcome to
Hi.
the show. The show
Hi.
is about awakening now.
Okay. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. And can you please say a little bit about yourself, about your journey, about your experience of awakening?
Yeah, sure. Of course. It started, I think, 2010, like 3 or 4 years ago, when I got a little bit interested, not about awakening, uh, about meditation. Uh, I didn't know much about it. I didn't know anything about awakening back then. I just started to be more interested about meditation, and I remember that definitely something was not right in life. You know how all this. Um, Definitely something was off. How I had a feeling that I didn't have control over my life or my emotions or my thoughts, and something was not right. And I never got a chance that I never had a chance to approach this in a certain way. So there was not much, a lot of suffering as well. There was, of course, lots of social situations that were definitely didn't find myself very, very didn't know how to approach them, and but there was no, lots of trauma or suffering, but there was something that was off definitely. So I then I remember I got interested in Buddhism. That was 3 or 4 years ago. That was very randomly. I was watching some videos. There was a guy, Buddhist monk, saying, I remember that very, very well, like that he's saying, like that we basically cannot control our thoughts and emotions, and that was for me like a revelation. Yeah, of course I cannot do that. I was all my life trying to handle this, manage this, and then I remember after that I enrolled at a meditation online course. It was by the same guy,
Mm-hmm.
um, um, and then slowly things started to change just by meditating.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, in a way that there were certain shifts, I wouldn't call them shifts back then, but definitely some openings. But back then, I still didn't have a context about that. I didn't know about awakening, all this no self stuff related to that. And but then once I found out about that, got extremely interested about that. And then I was looking for pointers everywhere around the internet. Couldn't find them. And then somehow I stumbled upon your website.
Oh,
Yeah,
somehow
yeah,
it
and
came to
then
you.
yeah, there was, I think, I'm not sure the name of the person is Jackson Peterson or something
Yes,
like that.
Jackson
He
Peterson.
was
Uh-huh.
there was some video with him talking about all of this stuff, and then he mentioned the website, and then I went immediately. I downloaded the book called Gateless Gatecrashers, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is when
Mm-hmm.
you and Elena have uh, conversation with people, right?
Yes,
Direct
that's right.
quarantine. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that was already the time when I had some kind of opening, so to say, into this unknown through, context. And as soon as I started reading the book a little bit and the conversation, at the first moment it was like, this is too simple, but it makes sense. Somehow it was kind of
Uh-huh.
intuitive, and then I remember something was already started to happening while I was using some of your pointers, and the next day I took a walk in the park, and I just thought about some of the stuff that I read in the book. and then the shift happened basically.
Oh, wow. That was
Yeah,
quick. Just by
the
reading the
shift
book.
happened. I don't know how it was. I think that I just stay with the pointers, very simple pointers in the sound only hearing or something like that. It was using them, and something immediately very quickly happened after that, and it was a huge shift basically. And it took some time, I think days or weeks. How you call it, the spiritual honeymoon or
Ah,
honeymoon
yes.
period. Yeah,
Yes.
I
A
love that
honeymoon.
expression. Yeah, and that was basically during that time. It was very clear seeing that nobody's managing life. There was huge release of energy, positive, of course. Um, there was very clear seeing, and I was started also to cry a little bit, and but also to laugh at all of this. It was like a silly, like a joke, but yeah, and that took some time. I think a few weeks. I felt very good until I would say suffering came back in the same, all this mental discomfort came in a different way, of course, but it still was lots of it was there. So that was from that point on. I was just learning how to address them, and we can talk about that as well later if you want. But
Hmm.
that was the first big shift happened 3 years ago, I think, and from that point on, it's been I would say just lots of acceptance, lots of opening, just being open about whatever it's happening, whatever arises, and of course, working with looking through other beliefs and working with them as well.
Wow. It's
Yeah, thank you
classic.
for the book, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. That's amazing that it happened so quickly just after
yeah. As I
reading
said, there
some
was a
words
context.
on the book. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think lots of there was context behind that because of the meditation
Mm-hmm.
that was running 1 year, I would say, before that happened. So there was lots of the mind was calm. There was also lots of pointers that are into definitely how we should rest your mind in this natural open awareness and just not resisting the experience. So I think the body and the mind was prepared for that basically.
Well,
So
sounds
it
like.
was not. It didn't happen just. If I read the book without having that context behind me, that wouldn't have happened definitely. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It probably wouldn't have happened, but there was some context. But then your book was amazing. It's a really amazing source. The pointers were very very simple, but as I said, first when I read them, it was. I said to myself, "This is too simple." How it's very very simple, but then yeah, it made sense definitely, and definitely makes sense.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
What did you notice was the biggest change or most unexpected biggest change? Let's say that.
I mean, from that point on, there was lots of work, but the biggest shift was basically that that just seeing that life is happening without anything managed. Like there is no something that manages this life. There's control of this life. Whatever is happening doesn't have a source, so there's no entity, pulling the strings. And so that was definitely the biggest surprise about that.
Mm.
That was even now it's still like a little bit. The experience got normalized very much, but it's still this part is still for the position of mind it's very mind cannot understand this from that position and use that language. So it's the things are still happening without definitely someone or something behind this all of this. So that was the big surprise. And also many other things, how I couldn't see this before,
Mm-hmm.
why nobody knows about it. uh, yeah, that as well. Especially in the Western culture. Also, one of the I remember the thought that came to my mind. We are always using different strategy to improve ourselves. We are many different things, many different workshops. We're going to gym. We therapy as well. But this is different. It's very different. It's not about improving yourself, but just seeing that things are much more complex in the sense how just everything operates. So simpler and complexer at the same time. So I would say, but that was the biggest revelation in all of this.
Yeah, it's interesting when you said that. How come nobody knows about this?
Yeah, that was but nobody didn't tell me before about this. Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of a lot of suffering was gone with that. This is for me awakening is there's no one when you talk about awakening and all of it. There's no one thing, one concept that can capture what is happening. So even awakening is not fair. Just what is how we approach this. It's much more complex than there's no concept that can capture all of this. So because at the end of the day, it's about the end of suffering. This is the major deal here, and that's why why nobody didn't tell me that there is a way was also something that it was sad to some extent.
Yeah. When I saw it first, when that shift happened to me, words I found Alan Watts, and then he was talking about all this so many years before, and I thought, it was here. People could find, and he seemed to be quite popular.
Yeah.
And many lectures and many videos and everything. But how come nobody knows about this? I mean, they didn't hear what he's saying. What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to say why. I think there are many reasons.
Sure.
To elaborate on them now, but definitely that was a big surprise. I was like, there was like a moment when, everybody should know about it, right?
Yes.
Because
That's how I felt. Because when I saw it, I didn't have anyone to talk to about it.
I mean, you cannot talk about it, right? It's tough to talk about it.
So that's why I thought everyone needs to know about this.
I mean, that definitely, I think part of it is the Western culture is, it's not mainstream here. So that's, but things are changing, I see. Or maybe I'm too much into this now. So I see there's lots of YouTube videos now and lots of pointers, which is a great deal. It's a great thing. So I think things are moving. So whoever is now interested in this, there is a way, definitely.
In a way, it's helpful, but it's also more confusing. Because before, like me, I was on my own. I didn't have anyone, no reference. I read Jed McKenna. That was one guy that said, okay, this is it. But around to talk to people or to find pointers, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And now there's so many people talking about it.
Right.
They can get quite confusing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, actually. That's actually a great point. It has to be careful a little bit because then when you watch more videos and read more books about it, the mind will automatically go there and will try to compare experiencing then lots of expectations from that and that then nothing's happening to me. I'm not for this. And then suffering will be, and then you get even more confused. So this has to be approached in a very, very careful way. That's a great point, actually. So because you cannot control what mind, if you read more books and if you watch more videos, the mind will automatically go there. It's very tricky because it's out of your control. If you don't, there's nothing that control this. So it can be very confusing because there's many different models, many different, of course, people are sharing their experience. That's great. That's perfect. But just, when you are on that path, this is very intimate, I would say. And it's great to be, intuition is your best teacher, I would say, in this path. At least at some point, after you gain a little bit confidence and you get a hang of it a little bit of this. Hi, Kat. I think that's something that, I mean, for me was always after, I watched lots of videos, lots of, I read, yeah, not that many books, but definitely some videos. But then at some point it stopped to remember that, and that was helpful.
So people are listening to you now, and how, from my point of view, it seems very simple, very quick, very easy, bam, and everything's clear. That's how I heard it. because
No, it was, oh
I
no.
speak to people that they are searching for years,
Yeah,
getting lost in all kinds of concepts, in all kinds of intellectual, elaborate ideas.
yeah.
And it doesn't seem so easy. So
Oh
people
no,
that are listening to you now, what can you tell? What would be your
no, it's not.
advice?
Definitely. I had it's first of all, I want to say that I had the first shift, but then after that, it's been, there's lots other shifts and deepenings, were happening until seeking, so to say, stopped at some point. Uh, Lots of it was related to, first of all, learning to be open, to accept everything as it is. And
Can
this
you tell
is,
more about this?
yeah,
Learning
of
to be
course.
open. How did that
Yes, I
look
mean, this
like
is a
for
practice
you?
basically
Uh-huh.
because when I started to accept things, let's take, for example, certain emotions or negative emotions or fears, whatever makes us suffer, there was always, I just noticed there's lots of resistance about that, first of all. I wouldn't say it's easy at all. It sounds simple, but that doesn't equal that it's easy. Uh, First of all, with the first shift, with the first thing, and the first awakening, how they call, or first bigger insight, this is not the end of the path for, I would say, most of us.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the beginning of the journey. So, uh, what was then after that, uh, there was a different approach after that. So, first of all, was for the first time I started to learn to be open, not to resist experiences, whatever they are. And that's the hardest part of this job. Because the body is not used to do that. The body is used to fight the experience, to resist the experience. Lots of conditioning is there. So it's that's the that's a practice. Basically, learning to be open to whatever arises is definitely a practice, but it's a tremendous skill. That's the big part of this process. I would say one of the most important things that, of being open to whatever arises without any resistance. Even there will be lots of resistance there as well, but we have to learn not to resist the resistance as well. Let it be there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
rest in it, so to say, and to some extent also to combine to after, when you get a hang of it. Also, for me, what's really useful was to show some love to all of this, just to spice it up a little bit, and then to surrender when it's, this is the part which is probably the most difficult in this, because it's not easy to surrender. It's into whatever it is. As I said, the body's not used to it. So, definitely being open, practicing that over and over and over 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's, because there's no way that, to say, there's no, model that applies for all of us. But definitely this is what, in my experience, not bypassing all this, mental and emotional discomfort was tremendously useful. And, this, other shifts later happened, without any many of them happened without any inquiry or investigation, or just allowing the experience to be as it is. Because at the end of the day, when everything clarifies, this is what matters. Whatever is simply is. There is no resistance to anything. There's no, whatever is happening mental, intellectually, doesn't, play much bigger difference anymore. There's no identification with whatever is happening in the mind. Uh, you know, at some point, all these negative emotions, they shouldn't come up anymore after, that they just, at least very situationally, there is no any chronic, I would say, context behind that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, that's the big part. The other part would be also to be curious about other beliefs, because there's still beliefs operating self-think, is still operating in a way. Beliefs about life, expectations about life, how the things should be, they're still there. There is still sense of self is still there, that this all of it is happening to something or someone. It's very subtle. Because it doesn't come often in the form of narrative. It's more like a grounded assumptions of what we are, who we are, basically. So, but it's a sense, it's there, it's operating definitely. So there's also a lot of beliefs operating about, that are still causing suffering, discomfort in certain situations. So they have to be addressed to see, okay, is there someone behind this, or who is talking? Just to be curious about all of this while being open. It's tremendous. So I would say, so two things: openness and curiosity about addressing beliefs, challenging a little bit, and seeing that this is still like a blah 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 for no one, for nothing. But it still cannot be bypassed. It has to be seen. At least that's in my case. So there are still different experiences. So I would also say that when someone hears my story, don't take it for granted, because this probably will not completely apply to you completely. My story, every path is different, unique. So, but if you find something useful, great. This is very, very intuitive. Trusting your intuition is your best teacher. So this is the biggest advice I could say. This is trusting the intuition, how to address, in a sense, whatever comes up. This, I would say, how to orient into this experience, and gaining trust during the process, while doubts will still arise, probably less and less and less and less. So learning to trust all of this is real, and trust the experience, trust your path, so to say. It's the key, I would say, to all of this.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, because it's so easy to get lost in other people's ideas or their experience, but it's completely irrelevant. Like even you sharing or me sharing my experience, for somebody listening, it's just words. The only thing to take from that is that one needs to look within in their own experience, and this may be helpful. This may be pointing to something and reminding of something, but that something is here. It's already here. It's not lost. It's not hidden. It's just, it's not visible because of all these ideas, how this should appear, how this should play out, how this should feel, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly these expectations when we start to, this is a great thing. But of course, and then when you start to be interested, when I started, looking into, I when I heard about no self thing for the first time, I just had to see how that feels like. It was because it was ridiculous, like how things can operate without me here. But there was, when I read it, it was, it still somehow didn't make sense, but it also did in a way. I cannot explain why. It's still, now it makes sense, but it doesn't. But then after a while, definitely, it's everything. It's great to, of course, to you have to, watch some videos, hear about other experiences, probably useful, definitely. But at some point, you have to trust yourself, because not to create lots of expectations. So this is it. The expectations can be a trap. When there's lots of them, can be a trap. Can prevent from deepening of the experience, definitely, because the mind will go there automatically instead of what is here to address right now at this moment. Because it's always about now. It's always about now and what to address now. Everything else is not happening, basically. Nothing is basically what is mentally happening. Intellectual is not basically happening. So that's why it's also, you cannot ignore that. It's good to be kind and let it be there. Make friends with your thought. It's fine, but the focus should be also on, okay, that's intuitive, what I need to address right now in this moment. So at some point, everybody will learn. I would say just if there should be a persistent sense of curiosity about this, that you really want this. If there is not there for most of the time, and if you're not, I would say 100% into this, that I don't know how it will work, because in my case, I was waking up with this, going to bed with this. It was most of the day I try to incorporate awakening into daily life, but not also. At some point, there will be a time when shifts are, there are some deeper shifts that we kind of try to abandon life in a way. Try to, there will be this. Nothing makes sense anymore. So why I put effort in this, all of this? But that's also somehow resistance to life. So we have to be careful. Instead of doing that, maybe to try to incorporate all of this into, everyday life, work, family, relationship. Of course, at some point it will be tough. It's not always easy. There will be also lots of resistance because things will look very much different than they looked before. Mm-hmm. And you will find in a situation that, okay, but this doesn't make sense. Why I would have a goal to become something, or why I'm going to work, or it would. At some point, this might not make sense, and there will be lots of that. But there is still resistance operating here. Mm-hmm. Lots of it, like a little bit of expectations from all of it that it should be in a different way. Instead of that, just let it be, and it will clarify later. But the key is to incorporate it definitely to your daily life, and you don't have to, I don't know, go to a monastery, or you just you have a life, we have a life, and there's no other way. That's it. Right. Yeah. Sometimes it's tough, but there's no other way. But the key is, to really want it, not in a way that to balance it in a way, but to be curious about it. What is this behind all of this? So it's about ending suffering at the end of the day. So
I think it's quite rare that what you are talking about, curiosity, and it sounds like you came in through suffering, yes, but there was also a lot of curiosity.
Yeah, definitely. That was it's been out here all the time. It's as I said, when I first heard about it, I was completely obsessed about it at some point. Yeah, I was looking for pointers, then simply working with this, definitely. So this is key, definitely. So important. Without that, it might be tough. It might be tough to go all the way to the end of suffering, basically, to when there is no more urge things to be different than they are. Let's put it like that. When whatever is simply is, there is no automatic reaction to experiences. There is simple equanimity with whatever arises. Also, there is no, all the concepts are just concepts. Even awakening becomes a concept idea at some point, but it's a useful pointer. So because there's beliefs of. There's a core belief that we are, something, or should be something. So, but at some point, that's why working with, just simply not resisting life, it's definitely, and while being curious about, all our beliefs and questioning them, it's also important.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I hope people can hear you. I find that mostly people are desperate. Like there is a point where I want the truth no matter what. And that desperation that no matter what is what allows the doubt in. Like you can start questioning if what you believe is true.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So this curiosity has that playfulness and has that innocence and a wanting to know. And yes, but there is also that desperation of wanting this no matter what.
Yeah. I mean,
no matter what, because people have ideas like, my family will leave me, or I'm going to sit on a couch and not do anything anymore. What if this and what if that? But it's like the truth no matter what. Doesn't matter what happens. I want this.
Mm.
I think this is one of the keys, that readiness. That I call that readiness. Right. Can call it whatever. Yeah, but it's just
no matter what. That's a good point.
Yeah. It's so much stronger than curiosity. Because I don't meet many people that came into this from just, let's find out what's going on here. It's more like, get me out of here. How long can this last?
Yeah. That might be counterproductive, I would say. If just when it comes from desperation, I can understand, of course, because it's about many of us suffered so much, and this is normal because there's lots of conditioning, so you cannot ignore that. But at some point, this will not guide you. This will not show you the way to the very, very end. Rather, what I mentioned, I would say, simply even desperation to accept it. When it happens, it's so important how it feels, where it shows up. It shows up in your, head. What kind of emotions? What is conditioning that? This is questioning all of it. This is like questioning and being curious about the interplay between emotions and the mental stuff, how they're conditioned, how thoughts and belief conditioning, whatever is happening. So, behind all of other reactions, there is some kind of belief operating. There is always something there. Some of them are sneakier, so you cannot see them. So desperation as well, as you said, it can be definitely there. So, when there is this happening, it's always, you cannot ignore it, but, be curious and be ready for this. Be ready. So, I mean, it's complex. That's why it sounds simple to some extent, and maybe some people are telling the story, but I wouldn't say it's easy in a way, that because it takes some time, because there was so much suffering, conditioning, 30, 40 years of life, and this to stop completely, it's impossible. It's like it's impossible. So it takes time until body adjust. Because body, what is happening actually, what I noticed is that the body is learning to adjusting, because body is very intelligent. It's also it's when we the less we resist experience, the body will less resist experience as well. Let's put it like that, although this is not a very correct phrase, but definitely the less we resist, the body will try to adjust automatically more and more and more and more and more. It will be more equanimity there presence. So it's about that, because body, all of this, what we call body, is a very complex thing, but there is some kind of, I would say, like it feels like there is some intelligence running there. It's very intelligent in a way. So it works in its own, definitely. All of these processes work on their own, and this has to be seen very clearly. And it takes time to see that. It takes time to completely see that, okay, so there is nothing that operates this, but it's much more complex. There is certain conditioning. But to get to this point, it needs some time. So, and patience, work, being ready, and being curious. This is the building blocks about that, and that, you'll see. It's every path is unique, so there is no blueprint for this. So, but there is certain.
There is one unique blueprint that is,
of course, but
the only one that is taking you where it's taking you.
Yeah.
I am curious though, how did your family respond to the change? Did they see it? Did they not? Did anything change?
My wife, definitely. But I didn't talk to anyone about it outside of my family and my wife. So, and we don't talk much about it actually. It's I remember before I wanted to talk more about it, but then it was my ego that wanted to say more about it. Luke, this is great, you should do that, or something. Go meditate. What you did. It's so good. But that was still ego operating a lot. So this urge to share, it's not there anymore. So we rarely talk about it, and I don't need to talk about it. But I see changes with my wife as well. I think our relationship has never been better, for example. So So yeah, there is, but outside of that, I didn't talk to anybody, anyone. I don't know how to approach this. So if anybody's interested, we'll welcome. I would share. I could share my experience, but this is some kind of private and not easy to talk about it. So also, yeah, at some point it was, of course, as I said, there will be time when you want to talk about it, and then there will be time when things, all of this, the life will maybe not make sense because
Mhm.
all of a sudden, there's everything what you were imagined is not mega important. Let's put it like
Mhm.
that. It's not actually, it's not what, you know, what matters, jobs that much, or, all these worries about, all this stuff, how you present yourself in public. I don't know, all little things, they don't matter. And there will be like distance from all of it. And also maybe to some extent from family, it could happen, but that should go away because if it's still there, there is still resistance to life basically to some
Mhm.
extent. And
Mhm.
this is, but I think there is in Buddhism, they say after all these shifts and insights, the mountains and will be mountains, rivers will be again rivers. So everything will. It's like you start awakening. With awakening, you're going through certain processes. You're going away from life, but at some point you're coming back to life. I would say like that, but from a different perspective, from a different
Mhm.
path. So,
Mhm.
and it's different life, definitely. But it's still the life. It's different, but it's not. I don't know how to. This is very difficult to point to this. It's different very much, but it's not because there's things were still. Even before that, there was nothing was operating this life. There's no one suffering. And this was now, but it was like when you try to recollect, it was like, yeah, it was familiar. Like it still feels familiar because we probably have experienced that in childhood or, certain moments of life. So it's not like it's completely absent. Of course, it's very much different when it's fully experienced, ongoing and it's there. But yeah, at some point we I don't know, that's my experience coming back to life again. Yeah, and that's great actually.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And as you mentioned, there was a beautiful honeymoon which
yeah,
passed, and then
yeah, that
back
was
to work, back to unconditioning, unlearning,
yeah,
exploring,
yeah, of course. I
healing,
mean,
allowing.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, as you said, allowing everything to be as it is. But yeah, the first shift was, you know, it was I never experienced anything like that. Like in a way that's in terms of releasing of energy, and we're very
Mm-hmm.
clearly for the first time. And thanks to your basically thanks to your book actually, yeah, with Elena that you wrote, yeah, that's the pointers there, and yeah, that was, and from that point on, I started to trust this basically. Yeah, this is real. So whatever it takes, I don't care if I had to do 30 years to seek for 30, 40 years. I don't care, whatever it takes. I know there this is real. So let's see how long it takes. But yeah, honeymoon, there will be also with other shifts later, there is also a lot of deepenings,
Mm-hmm.
other honeymoon periods as well, maybe not that ecstatic in a way, but more profound, especially when certain non-dual filters perception starting to dissolve, because the first shift is also there is still perception in this all stuff is happening to someone, something, it's still this sense operating there, but later there's also other shifts, and that has to be incorporated. There was also lots of suffering still, definitely.
Mm.
It's not in a way, not maybe that persistent as before. I don't know, every experience is unique, and that has to point out, especially when it comes to experience, because we are have our own individual history and differently conditioned. So um, from my perspective, I didn't have like every shift, every working with this was most of it positive. Like in a way, I didn't have any like fear of something that is going to happen to me, or that never came. But there was behind every shift or before every shift, that is something I was noticing. Day or two before, there was some. I always felt it's coming.
Uh-huh.
It,
It's
it
like
was
a
it was
few
like a
days
sensation.
of shifting.
There's something was restlessness, tensions in the body, and I knew it. Something is going to happen. Something, some deepening is going to happen in one day or two, and it was always that been the case. Always.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
but that I learned later a little bit, not immediately, but yeah, at some point, and then yeah, that's why I'm saying this is kind of intuitive a little bit. So you have to allow it when there is some kind of tensions in the body. Well, when this process is happening, just allow it, because probably behind that is something is going to happen. So because this is most of it behind beyond our control to some, definitely it is, but still you have to be aware of what's happening. That's
Beautifully said, yes. Because if you're not aware, you cannot
yeah,
notice it.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
I mean, I very much relate to your saying that it's like a practice to say yes, or to accept whatever experience is arising, whatever negative feeling is coming. So, and it feels like a practice, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of resistance, but it's worth it. It's so worth it, because that alone is one of the biggest shifts.
Right.
To learn first by practicing, then it becomes natural to learn to say yes to whatever is arising.
Yes.
Yes, but not in a way that, somebody comes in and says, let's do this, or you need to do this, and you say yes to that. It's yes to the inner knowing what it feels right in that moment, whatever shows up in that moment.
Yeah, definitely. It's saying yes with awareness, while allowing that a little bit to be compassionate about all of this, what is happening. That's also, I would say that's also very transformative. Just to show a little bit of love.
Yeah.
Okay, there is like a negative emotions here. Okay, I will be saying yes, but let's show it a little bit of love, a little bit. You don't have to like. That's very intimate in a way, but just allowing it. Be kind, be friendly to all of this. So it's also very very helpful. But as you said, this work. This is, I mean, and this is, it feels like work.
Yeah.
it's
especially in the beginning.
Especially the beginning, definitely.
Or in those periods of what they call a cosmic washing machine. Because when you get into that cosmic washing machine, you are gonna be shaken.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Worked on.
You will be.
All kinds of stuff are happening. All kinds of crazy situations can be happening, and then eventually you come out cleaner. But it takes it takes a lot of trust, and courage to go through that.
Of course.
Yeah, because that, we all know what it is to feel like a victim.
Yeah.
Like, and if we slip into that victim identity, then everything looks from that point of view, that I am a victim and this is happening to me. Why is this happening again? It shouldn't be happening. How dare they? And all these kind of stories that are going on. It's so difficult to see through that, but it's if you're aware that this is a possibility to slip into the identity of a victim next time it happens, you can remember to step out quicker. Yeah. So this awareness of all these dynamics of what is happening in this awakening process, awakening to purity, to yourself, to what this is. Yeah, it's good to be aware of all these dynamics. That's why I think it's useful to listen to people's stories and share your own experience, because just brings up awareness. Yeah. And you can notice what's going on for you with that openness and curiosity.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and I mean, there's no way, you have to be aware of this, what is happening. If that's why training a little bit. We're training, we're working with this. I would also call it work. I know many people don't like to call this as a work, because then it's, it there's different opinions about that, but to surrender to whatever it is, to allow it to whatever it is happening without the resistance is probably the most difficult part of this, because it feels like there's so much history behind that, and it's not easy. I don't know. For me, it was not easy. The other things, working with beliefs, and these are more. This is more like a getting the hang of it. Just be aware of what the mental chatter, and questioning and being curious. Who the heck is talking there right now? Over and over again.
Who's talking here?
Exactly. That was my pointer throughout all of the journey. Basically, I used all the time. Who is talking now? Let's see. And then there's still, and that's one of the ways to just, yeah. But definitely, it feels like work. I definitely agree.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that word work.
Oh no, not at all.
It is work. And it's good to accept that, yes, there is a lot to entangle, a lot to deconstruct, a lot of to unlearn and uncondition. And most of it is to unhypnotize yourself from all these precious beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't happen like this, it's a beautiful idea of happy ever after. Take a blue pill or red pill, and the story goes. It doesn't go. It goes when it's looked at. It goes when it's inquired.
Yeah. I wanted to say something, but I lost it. I mean, also, whenever we allow everything to be as it is, and we investigate a little bit, there will some kind of expectation that shifts. It's about that something should happen, that like a shift or awakening should happen. This is very important. Not to allow. I mean, the expectation will be, but not to hang on them. In a way, okay, there's expectation. I notice it. It's another thought. Let it go. Move. And this is how we don't allow expectation to drive this process, basically. So when there is something, when we're trying to be open or investigate, try not to fall into the trap of, okay, now shift is about to happen, or it should happen. That's it's not going to happen like that. It will happen probably when we are, maybe not expected, but also it can gradually takes, its own course. So that I wanted to point out. That can be like a trap I would prevent.
Yeah, I remember in the beginning, when this book was written, The Gateless Gatecrashers, my idea of pointing was that, in order to look at what is here, or to find out what this now self really means, you have to put your expectations on the side, right? Just like, okay, just stop all these expectations and just put them on the side.
Yeah.
But that was okay for then, because I didn't know any better. But actually, if you put them on the side, they very much come back.
Yeah, that's exactly. You can,
So it's better to look at these expectations, undo them as they arise.
Yeah.
And then you look. Well, it's okay to pause. And if that happens, great. But it's just being aware that they will come back.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's normal. But it's, as I said, you just have to be aware that and not ignore them or reject them or hang on them, like cling to them too much. But again, being open with friends, let them pass. It's it's normal to have expectations about that. It's not something that is it's part of the process as well. But they cannot dominate the experience in a way. They cannot be the main texture of all of this. When they started to be, then you're into the mind. There is lots of mind identification again, and there is lots of not looking into thoughts directly, but being operated by them actually. So that's how we'll practice and getting the hang of all of it a little bit. So expectations are fine. They can when they're happening, but it's another narrative basically. So it's everything else. We just notice it and let it go, and just
it's not how the mind expects anyway.
Oh yeah. And as you said, you cannot block them. You cannot like put them aside and on a shelf. It's not like that. If that was the case, this would be easy. But yeah. because nothing is controlling it. There's no like, you cannot say, look, I'm going to stop now thought from, try to stop your thought from happening, or try to stop your emotions from happening, or try whatever. It's impossible, because if that nothing is managing this, there is something behind this. You would, be able to do that managing, and that everything would be great. But that's why it's not easy, because there is no way immediately to do it, and to press a button or something. But we still want to do it. There's still way, but it's a work. That's why that's why it's work, because there's no button there.
Yes, and from one side it does look like work, and it is work. From another side, it's all happening by itself anyway.
Yeah,
already.
Exactly. That's the
paradox. There's that lightness around that work.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I think we shouldn't. People shouldn't think much about it. This is like a moot point. If it's how much, it's just do it. It doesn't matter if it's a work or not. Whatever it feels, just do it.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
And would you have any last words for the seeker or for the listener, whenever they are?
Yeah, I think we covered all of it. Trust your intuition, be open, curious as well, and basically try not the expectation to operate about this like expectation trap. Also, trying to understand all of this. We didn't cover that, but trying to understand how it's happening, why it's happening. This is also can be a trap, because it's not about understanding this in a way intellectually, but it's a little bit different. So that's, it's okay to, but you will not, there's no concept or idea that can capture all of this. So let go of that and simply trust your intuition. That's it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That's it. That's the last point.
Yeah. Very succinct and true. And thank you so much for coming here and sharing your thoughts and your experience and your energy here. Thank you.
Thank you as well. You're doing a great job, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
The website and all the books, amazing, really.
And I just want to say that Branimir wrote an article for Liberation Unleashed, and you can find it. It's called Openness and Curiosity.
There you go.
So you can go on a resources page and you can read it. And do you have any website or any way that people can contact you, maybe if they want to?
No, I don't. But we can. I don't know. We can leave some, some contact in the. Then later, I don't know, in the text on the YouTube channel, if you wish, or But I don't have anything official. Yeah.
Wait, and are you guiding now on Liberation Unleashed?
Yeah, from time to time I do. Yeah, when there is time for it, a little bit, I do that. Yeah, I have. Yeah, I'm one person. I'm guiding, so to say. Yeah.
And how is that going for you?
Yeah, it's fun. It's great, actually. I mean, it's also it's learning a lot, because it's and I want to point some, because even though I've been going through some processes and there's some insight, definitely guiding it's a little bit different. It's also, there's lots to learn there, how to guide, because it's complex, as we talked, and learning to guide, it's now something new for me. So yeah, it's fun.
Great. So if somebody wants to come and be guided by you, they can ask you.
Yeah. They have, my name is Branimir or Brane, something like that. They can find me there. Okay. Feel free to reach out, of course.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise.